Let me reintroduce our panel for the sake of those who are joining us. Today, closer to me, we have Antonio Loach, Member of Parliament for Mathare. On his side, William Kabogo, former Governor for Kiambu County. On this other end, we have Ledama Olekina, Senator for Narok County, as well as Caleb Kostani, Member of Parliament for Soy. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and thank you for being here with us this morning. We'll take a look at what's happening on the local dailies. The Standard newspaper, this is what you will get. Page 11. Revealed final 6 minutes inside the doom of the Ethiopian flight. If you continue to keep an eye on that story, there's an update for you on page 11. Preliminary investigations gives a minute-by-minute account of the hell inside the cockpit of the Nairobi-bound jet that crashed, killing 157 on board. About 30 Kenyans lost their lives on that specific flight. Also, the big story, border time bomb, 1.3 million. That's the number of motorcycles registered as the February 2018. According to NTSA, this is in regards to motorcycles. They're referring to it as bittersweet. Many Kenyans have preferred riders to send on errands. We ride on them in remote places and to beat traffic. Their arrival has saved lives, created jobs, and transformed villages. But there is a darker side to border impulsion. New state report links them to crime, moral decency and insecurity. And of course, matters politics on page 12 of the Standard newspaper. Ruto fights Jubilee side that wants him out. Of course, we'll begin with that story, but first, the Daily Nation. That's right. On the front page of the Daily Nation, at the very top, there's a picture of a Kenya Airways aeroplane and dreams by Kenya Airways of providing space for private jets and VIP parking. If their proposal to take over JKIA is approved, the national carrier wants to spend about 2.5 billion Kenya shillings to fix defects and modernize the airport. Is that the best solution for them? You decide. Catch that story on the back page of the Daily Nation. But the big story is Raila party paying for past sins. That's according to some leaders there. And there are quotes there by leaders from Wiper, CCM, ANC, Ford Kenya, and so forth. And at the bottom of the front page of the Daily Nation, a very sad story. Joy short-lived as mother of quintuplets and 2 infants die. And of course, we'll be talking about all these stories shortly. But first things first, let's get straight into our discussion. And I want to begin with you, Honorable Kabogo, get your reflections on what's been happening this weekend. There's a story that we ran just now, a call by a section of Jubilee MPs to the DPP and the DCI within the next 7 days. You know, conclude your cases. My take is simple. Good, go ahead.
Jubilee is a busybody. They want to take the country all over on different subjects.
Which
Jubilee?
There
was a serious, this Jubilee.
Which is this one?
The one
because we are told there's a section
party in power.
The party in power.
Yes. They're washing their dirty linen in public. They have nothing else to offer Kenyans. Kenyans want a table full of food. This is not what Jubilee is offering. They've been telling us about the fight against corruption. Now it seems like they've taken a back seat on corruption.
You took that from what? The president's statement last
Yes,
week.
because where is the seriousness? Kenoti told us. He said he's taking some big fish to court. Where are the big fish? Big fish is only one governor. Was it?
Lenokulal.
Samburu. What is happening in this war? Have they given up the war? Is the war between the deputy president perceived to be the corrupt man? Have they stopped that war? That's why I said when I was here last. If the deputy president has stolen, arrest him. If he has not, protect him.
You seem to be talking from a bird's eye view. You're seeing things that maybe some Kenyans are not seeing.
No, I'm saying as every other
If you're saying Jubilee
if you
will
enter a matatu like I did today.
You came here by matatu?
Yes, I came in number 3.
You
didn't see my tweet? I entered the matatu, 5 o'clock in the morning. I wanted to hear what Kenyans are saying. And this is the story. Don't give us this rubbish. Tell us how you will improve our lives. How will you improve the Kenyan common man's life? This story about corruption, this story about Huduma, you know, all these things, Kenyans are tired. Yes. And I was wondering, am I going to register myself?
You're not sure?
And I was telling Kose here, my friend, tell us, what is this number about? What is it? How will it change my life? Yes.
So you don't agree with the Huduma number?
No, not I don't agree. How will it change?
Right.
Why do we need it? Yes. You know, they are propelling the story of 666. Why is it Kenyans think about these things that way? Yes.
All right, well,
kuliko kutumia hiyo pesa na hiyo namba na hiyo maneno, wangeweka kwa unga.
Watu wapate chakula.
Sasa wewe ukiwekwa saa hii kwa huduma, my friend here said he has registered. How will it help him? I'm not saying don't register. I have an ID card. I have a driver's license. I have a social security number. You know, NSSF. What is it that they want to do with this number? Is it true it is for funding? Is it true that it is for DNA?
Okay.
What are all these stories?
Okay, fair enough. Let's get a reaction. You've asked them why. He says he's registered, and you can come and talk a bit about the war on corruption. And the feeling by some that...
There is no war.
Okay. The feeling by some that there is no war. He has said it. Go ahead, Honorable Lodge.
Okay, let me start with the statement about the ultimatum. I think that is really just an expression of the frustration. People have been hearing threats and more threats, talk and more talk, and absolutely no action. So you can understand why people think that the president's speech in Parliament was underwhelming. The president on the other side, I think, trying to play a balancing act. I'm not so sure there is any more room for him to balance anything, because we've been on this Kimwere and Aror damn things for what now? 1 month, going to 2 months. Absolutely.
Now you can almost add Itare to that list.
Yes, add Itare. And you could see the frequency with which we were getting briefs and updates. They're slowly dying away and fizzling until, you remember just off air, somebody was saying newspaper people are like, the media are like salespeople. Until the next big story comes and Kimwere and Aror will be gone. Trust me, you will never see it again. So you can understand the frustration when some people are beginning to say, we will give you ultimatums. The next thing you will hear is that we are going to go on the streets. It's the level of frustration. The next thing you will hear is that we are going to carry out citizens' arrest. On the flip side of it, I am not too sure that you can direct the DPP. He is insulated under the Constitution. He is under the direction of no one. But that does not mean the DPP should go to sleep, because our Constitution has insulated him. He must do something, I am sure, that with all the infrastructure and all the facilities that he has some tangible evidence by which to be able to go with. Now, the second point that I wanted to make was on the issue about stepping aside, not stepping aside, because that's what Uhuru seems to have been trying to play balancing act on, and he seems to have been playing to the Ruto side of the... You could see in Parliament. That's my assessment. I think, beginning with the walk to Harambee House Annex, I think he was trying to cool down temperatures. And the anticipation on the DPP side of it was that, in fact, in Parliament, people were whispering that Leo, they were saying the other side of Kitai Leoka, that's the DPP side. Wacha ajaribu kuvuta mtu kazi moja. I think they had had some kind of protestation or threat to walk out or something like that. So when the president said, I know there is pressure, but I won't do this, you could hear the applause from one side of the house. And it was a seesaw. When he talked, we will still continue this fight. The other side of the house was... but I think the president must now, without directing DPP, demand that we have given you more time. You cannot continue in this vacuum.
But don't you not think the time limits on these corruption cases could help speed the cases in court? Maybe it should not be coming from politicians, the Jubilee MPs. It should be coming from a higher power to put pressure on DPP and DCI?
Yes, there is a balance between, we've said it before, election petitions have timelines. We managed to deal with the question of election petitions that are gone for 5 years. We have proposed here that once you are charged, there should be a time limit. But you cannot put time limits on DPP and say, if I am being investigated, investigate me in 10 days. You can't do that. Like he has said, if somebody is corrupt, charge him and arrest him. If he's not corrupt, let's move on. But let's not make people be in this space of a make-believe that there is something. And on our newspapers, they were all bombarding us with stories about Kimwere and Aror, and we believed there is something. If there is something, let's go to court.
Right.
Let's go to court.
Senator Ledama, do you also agree?
How much time do you require to check where money has been taken? Money leaves the government account to an individual's account. From there to his wife, or to his bodyguards, or to this guy who flies to Kayole. How much time does the DPP want?
To Kayole
to go home. And he can't use traffic. He can't use motor vehicle.
What are you talking about?
The NHIF guy, remember that guy who was
how much time
that employee?
And he comes on TV and tells us like a beauty queen. Ati tutawakaranga DPP. What time does why does he find time to come to us and tell us stories about what he's going to do? Cannot telling us we have big fish. Who is big fish?
Okay, let's drop in the rest.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Do you agree with him when he says that there is no war on corruption?
I think the biggest problem we have in this country is that we like talking too much and very little action. That one, I agree with him. I think the president means well, but the problem is that even when you look at the Constitution, and Luch can tell us this, is that it's a little bit conflicting because there are two articles which conflict. And I think that is why these people are coming up with the issue of ultimatums. If you look at Article 157, it's very clear that the person who can be able to direct the Inspector General is the DPP. When you look at Article 245, Section 4, it says no person may direct the Inspector General to carry out investigation or any other practice. So that is why you find that some people are saying, well, we're giving the president an ultimatum of 7 days. The president is not in the business of firing people. The president is not above the law. You know, he's subject to the Constitution, which is there. So I think I agree with Honorable Kabogo in one way. We need to stop talking. We need to start action. You know, we talk too much, we do very little. And this is why I keep on telling the president that he is going to fail in every attempt that he either tries to take Kenyans forward in terms of the Big Four agenda, in terms of corruption cases. Let us see action.
Should that action not come from the president himself? In 2015, he gave a sort of his State of the Nation address. He mentioned about 100 people. This time round, Kenyans really expect to see more from him when it comes to corruption, which we didn't. I
think the president may take the country to a certain direction. But you know that the Constitution, again, is very clear. It doesn't matter whether you're in office or you're out of office. If you misuse public funds, you know, the law is an ass, as they say it. You will be subject to the law. You will still be able to pay and account for every single penny, whether you're in office or you're out of office. So I think the best thing that the president can do is to support these institutions, you know, and also build their capacity. Because one of the biggest problems that I see in this institution is that they lack capacity. That's number one. We talk about forensic investigation. Like Honorable Kabogo said, how long does it take to really investigate a matter? If you look at the money trail, it's very simple for you to follow through. This issue of money leaving this country, or rather leaving, you know, the Federal Reserve Bank with money which is reserved for Kenya to pay for all these dams, you can be able to follow the trail and be able to prosecute people. You know, I think one of the biggest problems we have is that I think people might think that Kenyans are gullible, you know, and that they forget very easily, and then that Kenyan may want to hear that, oh, someone big is being arrested. I've also been on, you know, I've been on record saying that I would like to see somebody senior being prosecuted for corruption. But I think evidence and facts are very stubborn. Okay. You know, any matter we undertake to investigate, we must be supported by clear evidence. Fair enough. Let me allow Honorable Kostani to come in. He's been scribbling a lot of notes since we started this discussion. Kindly care to share some of them with us?
Yes, I think a lot of people misunderstood the president when he gave his State of the Nation address. Okay. And I think your interpretation? The reason why you see the DCI and the DPP have kept off the media is because they are following what the president said. The president said the fight against corruption, in fact, the title of his speech was "No Turning Back," if it was to be given a title. And he said, we are not going to fight corruption using vigilante and newspaper headlines. So I think the DPP has retreated to his office to go and wait for DCI to give him proper investigated reports. And from there on, they will swing into action. It is not for the DPP and the DCI to hold press conferences. Let them leave that to us politicians and those who are in other positions of leadership. So I think the war on corruption is continuing. It's just that my brothers here seem to be used to reading the newspaper. They want to see Kimwarere Dam, they want to see so and so.
Let me ask you a question then. If they have changed strategy as per the president's address, but they're supposed to be independent, why would they stop one thing because the president has said this or that, and they're supposed to operate without?
If you look at what we have been saying all along, is that, and that is why we came up with the idea or the perception that the war on corruption had been politicized. It should never be a matter of headlines, who is being investigated or what case is being investigated. It should be, we should learn about it when I have been arrested, I've been arraigned in court, then you tell the headlines, Honorable Kostanya has been arraigned in court, this is his crime. But you don't tell me I'm investigating investigating Honorable Aluach. when he's still a free man, he's still out there going about it. That is not the way to fight corruption. So I think they're doing the right thing. And you can also tell from the president's speech that he's also been agonizing about what was going on in the country. The other thing is that the president gave a very, very clear indication that the fight on corruption will continue. There is no turning back, but let us do it within the framework of the law. That is, I think, where we are. So I think everybody who is expecting somebody to be arrested, somebody to be sacked, just hold your horses.
Right.
If it is to happen, it will happen.
Okay, and we want to encourage your viewers at home to also be part of this conversation. Text us on 22422 or call in on 0719999999. Let me come back to you, Honorable Kabogo. You were saying that, in your opinion, rather, what do you think is stopping or slowing down the war on corruption in terms of the investigative agencies doing a speedy?
It is the politics that they are bringing into the war.
The politics.
Yes.
Who are they?
Them, those who are fighting corruption.
Who are fighting corruption?
My friend, the leader is the president himself. He said there is total war against corruption. But that's not what I saw in his speech the other day.
So the same people who are fighting corruption are the same ones who are slowing it down?
Just the other day, was it the governor of Governor Sang, who was saying, how do you arrest the governor of Samburu, whose case was just investigated the other day, and you have Governor Obado still free? And you remember when the DPP was saying how many cases they have of big shots. It was one governor charged with the murder, and the other one charged, I don't know with what, 2 of them. Why do they have to come to us and tell us these big stories? You know, Kenyans know. A lady went to the bank and bebered 200 million in a gunia, and she's still free. Yes. Is there a war against corruption, or is it a perception that they want to fight corruption?
Let me ask you
how do you tell Kenyans? How do you tell Kenyans you're fighting corruption, and Kenyans know that this guy didn't have a penny before elections, and today he has 5 buildings in Nairobi? How do you tell Kenyans you're fighting corruption?
What options do Kenyans now have? Because your opening statement...
It is to march to those offices and remove these corrupt people, because we know them.
So Kenyans become the prosecutors
themselves? Yes, we will become. Very soon. It is the only way now. It seems.
So we go to the streets as well.
That is the vigilante that the president is speaking against.
No, I'm serious. You know, they cannot keep telling us every other day there is a story about corruption. Every time, you know, they said 21, the DP said 7.
63.
Tell me where the war is. We started with NYS1, NYS2, NHIF, National Social Security, all these things. And yet we are saying we are serious about fighting corruption.
You see, the other issue about this fight against corruption, and why I'm happy that it is off newspaper headlines, is because the newspaper headlines have been damaging people's reputation here and even damaging the country's reputation. And the other thing that is...
And damaging the DP's reputation.
Yes. And the other thing that has been... and the other thing that has been there... The other thing that has been there is when you look at the NYS2, look at the NYS2, we were told that the NYS2, 9 billion has been lost. We were shocked as Kenya, 9 billion shillings. What amount have they been charged for in court?
Sometimes, some cases, millions, not getting to a billion.
We're not getting even to a billion. So what happened to the 8-point-something billion? Look at the case of the Samburu governor, who were told he's stolen 2 billion. He is been charged in court for 84 million. So what happened to the 1.9 billion?
Does that make it less of a crime?
No, it doesn't make it less of a crime, but it makes it a crime to have that in the headlines, and then you're charging somebody for something. That is why I'm saying DCI, DPP, go under the radar. Just surface when you have a case.
Don't you not think that would work in a proper Kenya? In a Kenya where our leaders were where integrity was at the center of it all? That yes, they would go, do the investigations, then come back and tell Kenyans the truth.
That is exactly what they should do. And we don't even want them to tell us the truth. We will get the truth from the courts.
If these guys
we will get the truth when they have been charged.
If these guys were not involved in corruption, if these guys were not involved in corruption, they would be able to fight corruption.
If they
were not involved,
the investigating bodies,
involved. All these people are involved.
The investigating bodies.
You need to justify. This is a national station. You need to justify such a comment.
What I'm saying, my friend, we cannot be in a theater of games. People want to treat us to a show that there is a fight against corruption.
Okay.
There is no fight.
Let me ask you then a personal question. You're coming out very strongly against corruption. Corruption, which we've been told was there even starting from 2013. Why were you not as vocal then?
I was vocal. Remember I said, when Kabura was arrested, you know, in Parliament, I said, and I was in this station, I said, why are they taking her to Parliament to ask her questions about how she got money? And she's saying, I went to the bank and I carried 200 million. And these MPs don't even understand that 1 million shillings is over 700 grams in terms of weight.
When did you weigh 1 million shillings, Honorable Kabogo?
It's a long time ago.
Okay, briefly, please, I want to bring in
this is the real issue. The real issue here. There is theft in public offices. It is known by all Kenyans, and there is no seriousness in fighting corruption.
Fair point. Let's get reactions. Honorable.
You know, he has said one thing which he needs to explain some more, that, you know, all these people fighting corruptions are themselves involved in corruption. I think he's telling us more than he knows. On the other hand, you realize he's saying that you've been damaging everybody's name, including the DP. And I was trying to retort by saying that, you know, the DPP is the one who's been damaging himself. Why has he turned himself into the goalkeeper for every single shot that is fired on anything or anyone corrupt? Really, if you look at all the DP statements, there is absolutely not one single statement in support of, like, my president, my boss has said this, let's go on this tangent. Every single statement the president speaks today, he says the opposite tomorrow. But what I do agree with is that we should get this corruption business off the headlines. I think we are pontificating too much. I support the president. I believe what he's doing now is very different from the fight in the first State of the Nation address. But I think people are tired of talk, and more talk. Lastly, the question I wanted to ask is to your colleague. They were here on Sunday 4 weeks ago, I think Yvonne Okwara and the rest, and they said for every single threat that the president will give again, they will put 1,000 bob. And I said for every single threat, if they put 1,000, I would put 5. So please ask Okwara, where are we at that, on that collection thing? Because I think I have like 20,000 I want to put in there, so that the media also starts giving threats that they cannot. They say the president threatens, they will put 1,000 bomb.
Senator, so you're challenging the news to live up to their promise.
We want to collect that.
No, I think message conveyed.
Senator, I have a specific question for you, even as you give your opinion. The issue of these stalled projects, the dams and all that, right? So what next? How are Kenyans supposed to get justice for their billions lost?
You know, I feel Honorable Kabogo's frustration that sometimes we have to take matters into our own hands. But I'm also alive to the fact that we live in a country which is governed by the rule of law. And I think Kenyans now ought to really take it upon themselves to try and instill discipline in the culture. Because the biggest problem we have, I keep on saying, is that all of us are corrupt. All these MPs you are here, they are all corrupt. I'm corrupt. All of us are corrupt.
Wait,
no, you're corrupt. And I'll tell you why.
Okay, you need to justify that.
Because, I'll say that. Because we have all been brought up in a culture where you cannot get anything unless you know somebody. You cannot be able to, even in our positions, what we do is that we end up employing our relatives. You know, we literally just put them there because they're ours and we know they're failing. You know, that is a form of corruption.
Have you employed your relatives?
Well, I'm saying, of course, I've employed yes, I have. I've employed my relatives in my businesses and stuff like that. And why have I done that? Because sometimes you feel like you owe it to somebody something. So that's all corruption. It's not, you don't reward merit. So in this case, Kenyans are sick and tired of all this. And if you take a good example on Makueni as an example, I'm quite impressed with the governor because he has now employed young people, you know, who have like really turned that economy, around because they want their future. You know, they know that they borrow this world from their children, so they want to leave this world. They want to bequeath this world, to their children in a much better place. Your specific question on stalled project. We have stalled projects all over. National government, the huge stalled projects, national government, county government. In the committee that I sit on in Parliament, we are now visiting and making sure that we verify each of those projects so that we can be able to carry out our proper investigation properly. On the issue of these dams, I think we have to change the way we carry out our business. If I come in and I tender and I say that I'm willing I'm going to build this project which is worth billions, I have to show that I have the billions to be able to carry out that project. This business where you tender and then you are given billions in advance, we have got to move away from that. That's the only way we can be able to see progress. I saw Honorable Kabogo building a big hospital in Kiambu when he was there, and the projects that he was doing. I'm happy to see that when I go there, I see the project has been completed. So you ask yourself, why is it that certain projects can be completed, why others cannot be completed? So we've just have got to change the entire process of tendering, you know, and also make sure that we ensure. One of the biggest problem that we have in this country is that we, like on the KPC issue, where Kenyans have lost $1 billion shillings in oil spillage. CIC insured, it was a lead insurer, underwriter, but then they came back and they said, we will not accept that, but we'll give you an ex gratia amount of 100 million, and we accept that. We cannot do that. If I take a policy, I have to make sure that I follow that policy to be able to cover and protect the